The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to this big, explosive edition of the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I'm dressed in all black like the Omen, which means one of two things. Either we took one slam on the chin, or I've got some bad news to deliver. I don't know if this is bad news necessarily. It is for one person. Ronald Rivera, you, sir, will not be getting a Super Bowl ring. Okay. Looks like that ship has officially sailed as one of the last holdovers, main holdovers of the Rivera era. Jahan Dotson has been shipped out. Now, there is still Emmanuel Forbes left to deal with. And if that doesn't go well this year, you already see the writing on the wall. Okay. The purge has officially, I won't even say begun, because we did that a long time ago. The purge is back on. We thought we were done purging for this season. Au contraire, my friend. The purge is not yet done. It is still on, and he's still cleaning house. And so our guy, Chef P, continues to cook up crack as he moves on from Jahan Dotson, former first-round pick back in 2022 of the Washington Commanders organization, ships him off to Philadelphia for, along with the 5th-round pick, for a 3rd-round pick and a couple of 7ths. And we were talking about that 7th-round pick earlier that we dished off to Cleveland for Cade York. Well, he didn't take long to get his 7th rounder back, an additional 7th and a 3rd-round pick. And so there's so many different layers to this. The Philadelphia angle, you're trading him in the division. Like, he's from Pennsylvania. You're giving him a fresh start at home, making him comfortable. Great. You did by Jahan, but in the division, really? Like, this dude is talented. It's not like they got mince meat, and he's not going there to be their number 1 or their number 2. He's going to be their 3rd best receiver, which is perfect probably for what Jahan is in this league anyway. So it's a great destination for him, but as a fan of the team that traded him away, I'm like, you couldn't have shipped him off anywhere else. I think this is one of those we wanted to do right by Jahan, and the compensation was as good as we were going to find anywhere, right? Nobody was giving you more than a 3rd-round pick for Jahan Dotson, but no one else was going to give you a 3rd-round pick for Jahan Dotson. That's the question. I like, really, Philadelphia of all places? Anyway, let's look at the particulars of this deal. I've kind of already laid it out for you. Ari had it first. I think I saw it first here before I saw it anywhere else. Ari broke the news. I thought it was fake. I was like, this is fake news. When I first saw it, it popped up on my timeline, and I'm like, no way. I literally just spoke to the mob, and I said, if any other big news happens, you'll see this face all up in your space. And I'm like, I always say that, but I don't actually expect for something to happen when I say that. So literally minutes after my live stream, this thing pops up, and I'm like, this is fake news. I'm going to the source. I'm going straight to Ari's actual page to see if this is real. Somebody's playing with me right now. And sure enough, first thing on Ari's page after his pinned comment was this puppy right here. This gem of a tweet here says, breaking. The Commanders are trading wide receiver Jahan Dotson and a 5th rounder to the Eagles for a 3rd-round pick and multiple 7th rounders, per Adam Schefter. A fresh start for Dotson, and he stays in the NFC East. So Schefter probably had it first. This is where I saw it first. So that's the deal in essence. Jahan Dotson in a 5th off to Philadelphia in exchange for a 3rd and 2 7ths. I was expecting a player to be in here somewhere. No such luck. Again, If you didn't think that what we're doing here in Washington is a rebuild, like they could call it whatever they want, recalibration, whatever you want to call it. This is further proof that we're not winning anything of substance this season. Now, what Jahan Dotson was going to provide us with in this upcoming season, we don't know. It always felt like it was somewhat of a struggle for him, this transition, right? Even in the preseason games, he didn't look comfortable. They didn't get him the football, right? It just always seemed off. The Jets game, he's out there longer than any of the other receivers. They try to throw him a fade ball. He falls down, right? The Dolphins game, they try to throw him a little out route. It's the one pass that Jaden threw that didn't have a chance where you go, huh? You know, that you've thrown the out to Diami 2 times, you've thrown the out to Terry twice, the stick routes, and they've been on the money, and then you throw it to Jahan and the shit's 2 yards out of bounds. You go, huh? It just seemed like I thought that pass was a microcosm of the tough transition that Jahan was having with this new group, and he wasn't in sync with Jaden Daniels, and that pass kind of summed it up. He's hitting Terry on the nose, he's hitting Diami on the nose, and then he throws it to Jahan, and it's 2 yards out of his reach. And you just go, huh? That's kind of how it's been this offseason with Jahan Dotson. And it's unfortunate because the kid's got talent. Dude's got talent. We've seen it. We know he can produce in this league, but for whatever reason, they just weren't able to get it out of him here in Washington. And again, when you have a new general manager, a new coaching staff that did not draft this guy, they have no ties to him. If he doesn't come in and show right away that he's capable, they have an offer on the table that's going to allow them to improve this roster a lot faster next offseason. They're going to take it. And that's what they did. And I'm not upset about it, but I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't pissed that he's going to the Philadelphia Eagles, because Jahan Dotson doesn't stink. He doesn't suck. And what I'm not going to sit here and do, a lot of fans may try to do this, is try to demean this man like he's trash or he's garbage because he's going to Philadelphia. Good luck with him. No, he's actually really good. And now that he's going to a team where he doesn't have to be option 1, option 2, but option 3, and you could argue he might even be after the tight end position, maybe even after Saquon Barkley. He's option 4, probably at best in the pass game after Dallas Goedert, right? Obviously, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, probably Dallas Goedert and then Jahan Dotson. 3rd best option at receiver, 4th overall best option for them to throw the football to. They're loaded on offense now. Anywhere but there. He could have gone to Dallas. I wouldn't have given a shit. He could have gone to the Giants. I wouldn't have cared. You traded him to the best team in the division and made them even stronger? Like, I don't like that aspect of it. If it's the best deal you could come up with, fine. You do what you have to do. I just find it hard to believe that no other team in the NFL, you didn't pick up the phone and just make it known that, hey, and they did this very quietly. Everything this offseason has been done on the hush hush, right? Like we got blindsided by this deal. We didn't see this shit coming. Everything that they've done has been done quietly, under wraps, and we don't find out about it until the shit's done. That's the way it's supposed to happen, just so we're clear. But you couldn't have picked up the phone and called up Cleveland or the Jets or, hell, Buffalo, right? The Bills don't have any receivers. You don't think they could use the Jahan Dotson? You could have called up any team in the AFC and traded this guy for a 3rd-round pick? You have to call up the team up the street that we're going to be going up against for the next at least 3 years. He's got 2 years left on his rookie contract with the 5th-year option still available. You couldn't have called up somebody else? That's the only issue I got is Philadelphia. What if this guy turns out to be a dog for the Eagles? What if they utilize him correctly? What if he taps into the Penn State Jahan and not the Washington Commanders Jahan, and he all of a sudden turns into this animal? You know he's going to have red in his eyes when he sees us coming twice a year. He's going to want to stick it to us. At the end of the day, I'm not going to question Adam Peters. Chef P is cooking, okay? And I wasn't expecting this quick turnaround where we win 10 or 11 games this season. I've already made it abundantly clear. This is a rebuild. They can call it whatever they want. This is a rebuild. We'll stick with their phrase. We'll stick with their terminology. This is a recalibration. We're finding our north. That's fine. But when it's all said and done, they're turning over this roster in any dead weight, perceived dead weight. Guys they did not draft, guys they have no ties to. If they don't fit the program, there's the door. There's the door. And they're not playing around, ushering guys to the front door. They've been doing it all off season. They continue now. We are less than a month away from the start of the regular season, and a guy that was supposed to have a massive role in this offense has just been shipped off to Philadelphia, which tells you that they didn't believe in Jahan Dotson. And when all of that smoke started to permeate, and people like myself got the extinguisher and said, there's nothing to see here, guys. All right. There's nothing here. Okay. All of that smoke, that's generated by us. Right? That's not real smoke that you're smelling. That's fake smoke. Okay. Get out of here. There's nothing here. Smoke detector's not going off. We're good. No, that was a real fire. That was real smoke. And you see the end result. They weren't happy. And I told you after preseason game 1, when they signed Martavis Bryant last week, I said, they are not happy with the receiver position. Now, this reconfigures all of the roster, projections that we had for receiver and safety. Like, I got to go back and make the numbers work now, because automatically you're thinking to yourself, well, this means we're going to keep some other receiver. Not necessarily. And if it does, who are you creating space for? I literally asked you guys a question yesterday. You had to pick one guy to cut, and everybody cut Jamison Crowder. Maybe Crowder's not going anywhere after all. Maybe Jamison Crowder's not going anywhere after all. We'll see. Obviously, we don't know how all of this is going to play out in terms of where their thought process is. They saw an opportunity to get a third-round pick for a guy that they didn't see in their future plans. Are you upset about that? I'm not. Again, what this fan base has to learn how to do is not attach itself to guys who ain't done shit for us and have all these warm and fuzzies for guys who haven't produced, right? I don't have any ill will towards Jahan. I didn't think that a lot of his struggles came from, him alone. I thought he was a part of the problem, but a lot of it came from his circumstances. This man has not played in the same system since he got in the NFL, right? Every year he's had a new system that he's had to learn, and he's had terrible quarterbacks to go along with it, essentially. And I don't think Sam's a terrible quarterback, by the way. Sam Howell. But the situation that he was put in was terrible with Eric Bieniemy. And so you go from Scott Turner to Eric Bieniemy to now Cliff Kingsbury to now whatever the hell the Eagles have going on out there with Kellen Moore. And so it's another system for a guy who has had zero, comfort essentially since getting into the NFL and being able to say, all right, same system, same offense. All I got to do is go out and fine tune my game, right? We'll see if he lands on his feet in Philadelphia, plays better. I wish nothing but the best for Jahan, except for 2 times a year when he plays the Washington Commanders. Outside of that, he could torch Dallas, he could torch Philadelphia, the Giants, and whomever else the Eagles are playing. But just not us, right? But the sad truth of the matter is, he's probably going to kick our ass too, right? That third-round pick is going to come in handy next year when we need 2 corners, 2 receivers, a tackle. Like, we're far from a finished product over here, right? Like, some people, are trying to psych themselves up because this is the time of the year that you psych yourself up. Hey, we can win 10 games. Maybe, probably not. Hey, we can win 11 games. I don't think that's gonna happen, right? We got a lot of shit to fix, right? But they're building this thing brick by brick, piece by piece. I like the direction that we're heading in, and this is gonna help fast track that process. Last year, we had 7 picks within the first 3 rounds, right? 7 picks in the first 3 rounds. 3 in the second, 3 in the, 3rd, and 1 in the first, and if you can replicate that again, and you're probably not gonna have 3 seconds, 3 thirds again. Well, we got a second, 3rd pick, 3rd round pick now, right? And what again, what that does is it gives you flexibility. If you see a guy there in the second round that you want, you can offer up that 3rd round pick, an extra third or 2 thirds, and go back up into the second and get your guy, right? Because while we're not where we need to be, we're not that far off either. Especially if Jaden Daniels is what we think he is. We're not that far off either, right? So while this trade sucks, I'm gonna be honest with you, this trade sucks. Not from a compensation standpoint. I think it's a pretty good deal for the Commanders to move off of Jahan in a fifth and pick up. First of all, you got to know that Adam Peters loves his late round draft picks. Loves his late round draft picks. There's no such thing as a throwaway pick for Adam Peters. A lot of the damage that he did or helped do in San Francisco was done in rounds 5, 6, and 7, right? He was just as effective in those rounds as he was in the earlier rounds. They found, a quality tackle in the 5th round. They found linebackers in the 5th and the 7th and undrafted. So we know he's fully capable of unearthing gems late in the draft. So don't just poo-poo those 2 sevenths. We just gave one away to Cleveland for a kicker. I needed my 7 back. Not only did I get a 7 back, I got 2 of them back. Philadelphia's, and you know what else I'm interested in? Philadelphia probably has like 9 third round picks from 7 different teams. What third round pick is this? Is it theirs? Is it someone else's that may suck and it may be towards the top of the first round? Because Philadelphia is always shaking and moving with somebody. I doubt that this is even their third round pick that they're trading here. And truth be told, I don't even know if I want their third round pick. If they've got multiple third rounders, let me get somebody else's third round pick. Whatever the case may be, I don't have a problem with the deal itself. Seems like a win for everybody involved. Eagles get themselves another weapon to add to what's already a dangerous offense in Jahan Dotson, and we get really good draft compensation and for a guy that they didn't see a future with. Let's be honest. They didn't see Jahan Dotson as a part of the solution in Washington. So they moved on from him and got something for him. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just mad at where he went. Anywhere but Philadelphia. Again, Dallas isn't winning shit. Giants aren't winning shit. You could have traded him anywhere you wanted. Philadelphia, though, that's the only thing where I go, I might have thought that one over and I might have decided to go in a different direction. But either they're trying to tell us that they said to themselves, hey, Jahan Dotson ain't shit. So won't mind trading him to Philadelphia. You know how many times the Eagles have fleeced us? Andy Reid used to do this all the time. Andy Reid went to Kansas City and kept fleecing us when he traded us Alex Smith, right? For Kendall Fuller. Maybe it's our turn to get the Eagles back. Maybe it's our turn to fleece the Eagles, and maybe they'll be saying a year or two down the road, man, we want our damn third round pick back. Maybe. I doubt that because I think Jahan Dotson's talented. So I don't think that's going to be the case. But we will see. But hey, Chef P continues to cook, man. Man's got all kinds of spices, herbs, vegetables he's throwing in the pot. We don't know what this concoction is going to taste like, but man, I tell you, it's a lot of shit going on. A lot of different shit he's throwing in this pot. What a busy day. Wow, Jahan Dotson is now a Philadelphia Eagle. Who had that on their bingo card? Not me. Not me. Hey, Ron, it's like you won't be getting that Super Bowl ring, champ. Anyway, let's get to the comment section. JLG, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Right. I was never a fan of Jahan. I thought Kyle Hamilton and George Pickens were better options. However, my heart goes out to those who were Jahan fans. He will be missed. We never used him properly. We didn't use him properly. And we can play the what if game. We should have taken this guy. We should have taken that guy. By the time look, we all agree that in that draft, it's easy to have revisionist history now and have 2020 vision in hindsight. But we all agreed at that draft. I know I was really high on Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, the two Ohio State receivers. Olave was there, and that's who the Saints ultimately traded up with us to select. And Garrett Wilson was already gone. So once we already agreed that we needed to trade back in that year's draft because we didn't have a third round pick, I believe. We didn't have a third, and we needed a third round pick. And so we knew we needed to trade back, and we knew we were going to trade back, and we did. And we got Jahan Dotson. And if you look at all the receivers that were left in that year's draft at that time, where we were selecting, if they were going to go with the receiver, he was the best of that group. Could we have taken George Pickens in the second round? Sure. They weren't going to take him in the first round. It's easy to play the George Pickens game now. But George Pickens was coming off of an injury at Georgia. He hadn't been super productive his final 2 years at Georgia. You were picking him strictly off of upside. And could he stay healthy? Like, we can't play that game right now. The bottom line is it didn't work out here for various reasons. You switch coordinators every year. We refused to throw him the football last year. Look, I'm not telling you Jahan is innocent in all of this. He can't get off the line of scrimmage. He couldn't get off the line of scrimmage at Penn State. We drafted him, and we didn't acquiesce, right? We didn't adjust and say, hey, we're not going to put him in situations where he's going to get hemmed up at the line of scrimmage. You have to put Jahan Dotson in bunches and stacks, and you got to send him in motion so that he doesn't get jammed up. Because if you leave him outside, he's going to get hemmed up at the line of scrimmage. That was always a knock on him, and it continued in the NFL. He struggled to get off of press coverage. It is what it is, right? You can circumvent that. He's not the only guy in NFL history who struggles with press coverage. Find a way. We didn't find a way. We didn't do enough. But at the end of the day, it didn't work. Much like most Ronald Rivera draft picks, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, it didn't matter what round it was. If it was a Ronald Rivera pick, it probably didn't work for us. Add Jahan Dotson to the list. Add Jahan Dotson to the list. Right now, it's looking like Sam Cosmi and Brian Robinson Jr., and that's it. That's all that of all of the things that they selected for us, they look like the only two things that actually work. Everything else seems to be somewhat faulty, right? We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Benjamin St. Juice. We'll see what happens, with some of the other guys that have a chance, Percival Butler, Defoe, Quan Martin. We'll see how some of these guys turn out. But right now, it's a big F bomb for Ronald Rivera and company in terms of all the draft picks that they left us. What a shit show that was. Jason Fios, been a member for 29 months, almost at that 3-year anniversary mark. My guy, Jason Fios. Right. What's up, Lou? What's up, Jason? Not mad we traded him, but to the Eagles, same question I have. Hope it doesn't come back to bite Adam. Why did we have to give up a fifth? Because you're getting a third round pick. And what has Jahan Dotson did to warrant a third round pick on his own merit? Nothing. Man's never had over 600 yards receiving in a single season. You're not getting. Yeah, he was a former first round pick, but nobody cares about that when we're making a trade. What can he do for me? What has he done? And what tells me that I'm going to get my worth out of him? I have no proof. I have nothing to show you other than 500 and 52 yards receiving, as a career high or whatever the number is. So you can't just say, give me a third round pick for him. You had to attach something to get the third. Trust me, you much rather have the third than the fifth, right? And you get two sevens. I guarantee you Adam Peters feels just as good about the two sevens as he does a five. So he's like, yeah, I'll take the third. That's going to get me way more value. And I'll take the two sevens. I feel good about those just as good as I do of a five, right? Shadow Striker 789. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, never forgiving Eric the enemy for running so much young talent, ruining so much young talent. Waste of a good morning. Back to pain. Yeah, this one this one doesn't necessarily sit well with me yet. Um, this reminded me of the Carson Wentz trade. Remember when that trade happened? Same same goddamn team too, right? The Eagles. I didn't know how to feel about that trade initially. I was like, I don't feel good about this. I don't feel terrible, but I'm like, I don't know. I feel the same way about this trade. I don't feel good about it. Like, that was a former first round pick. We need help at receiver. This doesn't help us this year. And what if this guy actually turns out to be really good? I don't feel bad about it, you know? Like, I don't think they loved him. Clearly, they didn't love him. If they don't love him, get something for him. Don't be like the last regime and sit and wait until the value is no longer there, like they did with Kirk Cousins when we could have had a first round pick for him, like they did with Trent Williams when we got essentially a damn compensatory pick back in exchange for him, the best tackle in football. Hey, if you don't love it, get the most you can for it. That's what they did. I can't be mad at it. I ain't mad at it. I'm also not glad at it. So, yeah, the enemy has a lot to do with a lot of what you're seeing here. I mean, it went really bad last year. But you know what? We needed things to go as poorly as they did last year for us to end up where we are now. It was a necessary evil. John Perez, my guy JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy JP writes, damn, Lou, Dotson gone. This one came out of nowhere. Yes, it did, JP. He says, but it really sounds like they didn't like him, and he's not an AP draft pick. Exactly, right? These are things you have to take into consideration. He says, plus, there's no way we were making a move for Cooper or Ayuk now. They weren't going after either one of those guys. I don't know if you're talking about Amari Cooper, but he just signed an extension, or they just gave him new money in Cleveland, so that wasn't on the table. And Ayuk, that ship sailed a while ago. You know, Washington was interested early. I think they cooled off late, and they weren't really in the IU sweepstakes for a while now. And you know, we'll wait and see what happens with that situation. I'm all in on T. Higgins. You guys know where I stand now. Like, I think Ayuk is going to end up back in San Francisco. I think the long-term deal is going to be reached at some point there. Whether it is or not, we'll see what happens with Ayuk. But I'm a T. Higgins guy, and if T. Higgins stays healthy and he plays well this year, I'm willing to fork over the cash that's necessary to get him to Washington. But um, whether it's a T. Higgins or it's a guy in the draft next year, or you know some other receiver, it wasn't Jahan Dotson. That's abundantly clear. It wasn't Jahan Dotson. Viscount, been a member for 32 months. My guy, Viscount, right? Trust in Chef P, another top 100 pick. Bingo. That's where I stand. I may not love this. I don't hate it. Obviously, I told you I'm not mad at it. I'm not glad at it. I'm indifferent right now, but I am happy that it's another top 100 pick in the bank. Go ahead and put that one in the bank. We'll deposit that. We'll let that sit. And then come next year when we start assessing the draft and we start looking at our draft capital, we go, oh, yeah, we got another third round pick, right? And we're going to see, we saw how he maneuvered in the draft this year, right? How he was able to take all of those thirds and turn it into another second, right? Let's see what he does, right? Let's see what he does. He took that second round pick that we had, turned it into 2 seconds, gave up a third, but look what it netted us. Mike Sainristil, Ben Sinnott, right? Netted us some guys that um, we didn't know we were gonna have at our, disposal because we weren't expecting to pick 3 times in the second round, just twice. We were only supposed to have 6 picks in the top 100. Well, we did have 6 picks in the top 100. 1 in the first, 3 in the second, 2 in the third. We didn't know we were gonna have 3 in the second. It was supposed to be 3 in the third. So let's see how he works. All right. We'll see how he works. So I'm not mad at it. Rob you. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Rob you, right? What up, Lou? I'm in shock. Yeah. I was too when I first saw it. Like my dropped. Like this isn't real. Like I didn't want it to be real. Then after the initial shock wore off, it was like, okay, all right. The smoke was here. I chose to dismiss it. I opened up a window. I said, there's nothing to see here. And the smoke was real all along. There was true fire out there, and we just didn't want to see it. We didn't want to acknowledge it. I didn't. Some of you did. I feel like Derek B is gonna be telling me, "I told you." I feel like I told you coming. I feel that one coming from Derek B because he already said by the time the season starts, there may be like 4 or 5 Rivera guys left on the roster, and I was like, "You're crazy." Oh, another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. Rob you writes, "What up, Lou? I'm in shock. What up, Rob you? What the f?" Jahan had his faults, but there's no way anyone can tell me that this man contributed to this receiving corps. Furthermore, to the Eagles, come on, man. I echo every sentiment you just had. All right. There, you look at our receiving core, and you can't tell me that Jahan doesn't upgrade what we currently have. Like, so automatically, what you're telling me right now is Terry is 1, which he always was. Diami's number 2, and Olamide Zaccheaus is number 3, and Luke McCaffrey is our 4th best receiver. Maybe even Jamison Crowder at this. Um, it's a very uninspiring group, but we'll see. Sometimes it's not about the individual parts, but the sum of the parts. And so maybe this group is better addition by subtraction. Maybe Jahan would have been taking reps that OZ needed to get, and OZ might be a better fit for this offense, right? We'll see. But I can tell you there were definitely limitations. So you couldn't line Jahan up in the front of a screen, right? He's going to get blown up, just like he did in the Jets game, and you're not going to be able to maximize that. So now you don't have to worry about that. Everybody that you can put any player anywhere on the field, throw a screen anywhere you want, and you don't have to worry about the screen getting blown up because Jahan can't make the block. There's certain things that he just wasn't capable of doing. I don't think they like his lack of physicality. I talked about that. This group has been big on physicality, offensively and defensively. They talked about physicality with the tight ends. They didn't like Amani Rogers' physicality. They cut his ass, and he's now in Philadelphia, right? They didn't like Jahan's physicality. His ass is now in Philadelphia. If you're not physical, you can't play for the Washington Commanders. They're setting a standard and creating and forging an identity. It's something we've asked for years. Now that it's happening, you can't be mad. Just be quiet and let it happen. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Forge this identity. Create what a commander player is supposed to look like. Set a standard. Jahan didn't meet that standard, obviously. He's no longer here. I'm not mad. I'm not glad he went to the Eagles, but I'm not mad. I'm not mad at it. Casper the Barbarian. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thanks for being a member of the MOBB. Casper the Barbarian, right? What up, Lou? What's up, Casper? How do I like this trade for both sides? We need a wide receiver 3, and the current regime in Washington had no ties to him and no incentive to develop him. Um, Fact. It works for both sides. Like, we get the 3rd round pick, that's gonna help us fast track us building this roster where we wanna get it, and you needed a wide receiver 3. It works for both sides. You see how fast you can get Jahan up to speed on what you're trying to do. Meanwhile, we'll have to wait a little while for us to reap the benefits of this trade, but it'll come. I'm in no rush. I understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. I understand that this is gonna take time. Some fans don't wanna hear that, but this is gonna take some time. So the Eagles are gonna benefit much sooner, or should at least benefit from this trade much sooner than we will. But time will tell how it benefits either team, right? We'll see what we end up doing with the third and the two sevens. We'll see what the Eagles ultimately do with the fifth and Jahan. But ultimately, I'm not mad at the trade for either side. This isn't a fleecing. Our GM doesn't get fleeced. Okay, Howie isn't fleecing anybody. There's no ski mask involved in this trade. Um, this is a win-win for both sides. So we'll see what happens. Right? Lang Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Lang Hughes writes, B. Mitch is predicting another move is coming. B. Mitch also, and I'm not the biggest B. Mitch fan, right? But remember, B. Mitch had that soundbite that was circulating social media last week about receivers pouting in practice and this, that, and the third, and acting as if they're owed something. And everybody ran to the conclusion that he was talking about Jahan. And a lot of us, me included, I didn't chastise B Mitch. I just said we don't know who he's talking about. B Mitch is always bitching and complaining and ranting about something, and I just dismissed it. And other people were like, hey, B Mitch is out there. B Mitch is speaking. You should listen. Well, B Mitch knew something. He saw something. Look, a broken clock is right twice a day, right? Broken clock is right twice a day. So, or is it once a day? Once a day. Yeah, broken clock is right once a day. So, um, again, B Mitch is one of those dudes that he rants so often that it starts to fall on deaf ears. So you gotta sift through all those rants to get to the one that actually is gonna lead to something serious. It was that one rant, right? Damn Twin Shorty Sublime. Thank you for the super chat. It's twice, right? Because it's gonna be the same time twice, right? I thought it was twice a day. It's gonna be 3:06 twice at some point. 3 in the morning. But wait, 3:06 in the morning and then it's 3:06 in the afternoon. Doesn't well, no. I mean, technically one's AM, one's PM, but who cares about that? 3:06. That's all that matters. So, damn Twin Shorty Sublime. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Damn Twin Shorty Sublime writes, did they did they just say we are in fact rebuilding without saying we're rebuilding? I literally just said they can tell us what they want. They can tell us what they want. But if you're trying to win this year, are you trading Jahan Dotson 3 weeks before the season starts? If you're trying to win this season for a third round pick in next year's draft, two seventh round picks in next year, are you really trying to win now? Or are you trying to help this team get better faster in the future? Sounds like rebuilding to me. But we can look, let's just stick with their terminology. They're recalibrated. They're finding their new one. Jahan had the compass slightly off, right? So did a lot of the players that were here last year, like Chase Young, right? Like all the guys that they allowed to walk. Somebody said something really interesting to me last week, I believe. They said, we couldn't have re-signed Curtis Samuel for what he got in Buffalo. And I'm just thinking to myself, Curtis Samuel sure would look nice on this roster this year. Now wouldn't he? Now wouldn't he? A healthy Curtis Samuel on this roster sure would have been nice. With what they like to do with guys with versatility, with Curtis's running back background, he sure would have been nice. I swear, some of these guys like Antonio Gibson sure would have been nice with this thing. They just got here a year too late. But that's neither here nor there. Um, unless they got a plan to bring in someone they consider an upgrade, question mark. No, there's no upgrade coming. We got what we got at receiver. Okay, we got what we got. There's no upgrade coming. I don't think there's another move now. Somebody said B Meat says there's another move. Maybe I didn't see this one coming, so I can't say that there's not another move coming. I highly doubt that they traded Jahan and a fifth for a third that they're going to flip to give to somebody else to get a receiver in. I don't see that happen, right? It could be ammunition to make a trade to go get a receiver and then give that guy a long term deal and get him here, right? But the likelihood is they're stacking picks for the future, and they're going to roll with the receivers that they have, and they're going to pick 5 or 6 of those guys, and they're going to go into the season. So, this entire time where I've been saying this guy isn't going to make the roster and that guy's not going to make the roster, so why is he out there? I don't know. I always thought Byron Pringle was making the roster. This makes me feel even more confident that Byron Pringle's going to make the roster, right? So, yep, they you hit the nail on the head. They essentially told us that this is a recalibration without them saying it. Their actions spoke any way louder than any words could have spoken, right? John Dre 3000. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Right. Gotta change the name now. Don't know whether to wish him well or to bust. Pause. Um, I'm wishing him well. He's done nothing to me. I don't feel any like I normally don't have any ill will towards guys who don't work out here. As long as you didn't piss off the fan base or you didn't, do things here that rubbed us the wrong way while you were here. I don't like Chase Young. I got nothing but love for Chase Young. I hope he does great in New Orleans. I ain't got no ill will. I got no ill will towards Montez Sweat, except for when we see the Bears this season. I hope he kills it this year. Knock yourself out. Crush it for the Bears, right? We made a decision. Get a second round pick for Montez Sweat. I'm not mad at that. Montez Sweat never had double digit sacks here in Washington. In his first double digit sack season this past year, 6.5 came in Washington, another, 6 came in Chicago. Good for him. But we never saw it here. The same thing with Preston Smith, right? Never saw Preston Smith explode and then he goes pause to Green Bay and finally has a 13.5 sack season or whatever it was, right? That's cool, but it didn't happen here. Um, Same thing with Jahan. We just never saw it here, right? So I got no ill will towards him. Hope he kills it in Philadelphia. Just not against us. Fresh start. He's back at home in Pennsylvania. See if it does him some good. Barrett Downing, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, BD, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, any place but Philly, but they must have bigger plans. I hope. Um, I don't know. I don't know if there is, um, I don't know. I don't know if there's hope or not. You said the audio is bad. Hold on a second. I don't really know what to tell y'all. Um, Let me see something. See if I can check out the stream health real quick. All right. It's saying it should be better now. Um, check. Y'all hear me? Is it still bad? Is the audio still bad? All right. I'm a disconnect it and connect it again. Give me 1 second. All right. How does that sound? Does it still sound like I'm underwater? All right. Yeah, I just had to reboot it real quick. Sorry for that. Um, bear it down and says any place but Philly, but they must have bigger um, plans. I hope. I wish I could tell you that that was the case, but what I can tell you is they didn't feel like he fit here, and they wanted to get something for him while the value was still high. So, because if he went out and had another lackluster year this year, and we found out the hard way that he wasn't a fit in Cliff's offense and he didn't fit in the ultimate, big picture vision for what they think this roster is going to be, then you try to trade him in the offseason. They're not getting a third round pick for him. I assure you of that, right? Yeah, we had to attach a fifth, but even with attaching a fifth, you weren't going to get a third round pick back. So they wanted to get something for him while they still felt like the value was high. This is as high as it was going to be if he didn't have a big season, right? So yeah, we'll see what happens. Um, got any great? Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. Um, JC Ice, yeah. No one's safer than ice, JC Ice. You were singing a whole different tune yesterday. That's not how the song went yesterday, right? Hey, you see the difference just a few hours makes? I mean, wow. Um, that is not the song you were singing yesterday. Oh man, that's funny. Derek B, been a member for 35 months, almost at that 3-year anniversary. My guy, Derek B, writes five Ron. He says five Ron picks for 2025 still in play. You scoffed at me. I didn't I tell y'all this earlier? I said Derek B is gonna come here and eventually he's gonna take his victory lap, right? Because he came at me earlier this offseason and he said, by the time we get to the 2024 or 2025 season, I believe he said, we're only gonna have 4 picks left, or something like that, 4 or 5 picks. And I said, you're crazy, right? Because I was like, you got all the picks from 2023, which was his last draft. They're not gonna be gone, right? Bullshit. Those guys aren't safe either. They're gonna cut um what's my man's name from Utah, the tackle, guard, whatever the hell position he plays. Brendan, um, Brendan, whatever his name is. They're gonna cut his ass. Ricky Stromberg might get cut, right? And then who knows what's gonna happen with Forbes this year. So yeah, even that draft's not safe, right? Um, they drafted what Andre Jones in the seventh. He's getting cut this year. They're not keeping him. KJ Henry, I think he's gonna make the team, but I don't think that's a long term, thing. I think he's gone. They're gonna cut Chris Rodriguez this year. He's not making the team. So even the 2023 dudes that were here aren't safe. So yeah, Braden Daniels, thank you. Yeah, uh, they're going to be chopping these dudes down one by one, left and right, till this roster doesn't look anything close to resembling what it was before they got here, which is which is the plan, which is what it's supposed to look like. Because it wasn't shit when they were here. This is why we would only win 7 games. I did scoff at you, Derek B. So whatever you have for me, I have coming my way. I deserve this. I definitely didn't see this shit coming, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Um, Booker, been a member for 28 months. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Booker writes, we can't be done at receiver. We traded for a wide receiver too. I don't understand why y'all don't understand that they're not going to win anything significant this season. So why are you so hung up on getting something right now? Right? not about right now. It's not about this upcoming season. Look, they're going to do their best to put a competent, competitive team on the field, and I know they're going to do that. It's going to be a well-coached team. They're going to be competitive. They're going to play hard. They're going to start to set the foundation for what it means to be a commander. But if you think that this season has 10, 11, 12 wins written all over it, you are sadly mistaken, and you were mistaken from the jump. Okay? All you should be looking for from this season is the development and growth of Jaden Daniels, and you need to come out of this season saying, we got QB1. You don't have to worry about that anymore. And then the next thing you should be looking for is finding all of the pieces, grabbing all of the guys that you see as a part of the solution and not the problem. Grab as many of those guys as you can, bring them over to the roster next year, and add another slate of draft picks, add more free agent acquisition, more undrafted guys into the mix to see if they can come in and win a spot, and then you move forward again. And you get closer, that much closer to having the type of roster that you think can compete here in Washington. Remember, I told you this is a 3-year plan, whether you want to hear it or not. When they took over in San Francisco, Adam Peters is literally going by the 49ers playbook that he helped write. When they went from a 2-14 team when they showed up in 2016, their first season was 2017, and they weren't that much better in 2017, to very competitive in 2018, to the Super Bowl in 2019. You just got to be patient. Hard to explain that to a fan base that has been patient for over 2 decades. I know. You just gotta let this man work. Let him cook. Let him cook. There's no move in conjunction with this one to help bolster the wide receiver. We got what we got. We got what we got. Yami, Alameda, and Luke. We got what we got. Maybe sprinkling a little bit of JC Ice, maybe a little bit of Byron Pringle, maybe a little bit of Martavis Bryant. I don't know, right? But we got what we got. We got what we got. Um, so I don't think the audio doesn't have anything to do with the mic. It's the bit rate. I keep seeing the screen pop up on my stream on my other computer that is telling me that the bit rate is a little bit higher than normal. Maybe because it's a lot of people in here. I don't know. But it's telling me that the bit rate isn't conducive to the audio staying normal. I don't even know what the hell that means. But whatever the case is, it's the sign isn't up now, right? But in 5 minutes, the message could be back up there, and the audio could be trifling again. But Joseph's journey. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Joseph's journey, right? Forcing JD5 to win games himself, dumb. Need IU. No, that's not what this is. Like, I need y'all to understand that you already wasn't throwing the ball to Jahan. Like, you've seen the 2 preseason games, and I know it was a small sample size, but he wasn't getting the rock. He wasn't a part of the offense. So they still got all the tight ends. They still got all the running backs. They still have Terry. They still have Biami. They still have Lamade Zacchaeus. Like, let's not act like Jahan was a 1,200-yard receiver. Let's not overdo it, right? Some of y'all get caught in y'all feelings. And look, I feel like he was misused and miscast here in Washington. He was better than what we saw. But let's not act like he was going to be this world beater this year. Right? We were hoping that he would show that he could be a viable number 2 option. We were hoping that. We didn't know. Saying that JD5 is going to have to win games by himself is blasphemous. There's still talent on this team. And again, I'm leaning on the coaching staff. I'm leaning on the coaching staff to do their job. Right? Lang Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Right. If York doesn't make the team, 7th doesn't get sent. That's what I assumed, but I don't want to assume that that's the case. I'm assuming though that if he makes the team, they get the seventh round pick. If he doesn't, but they just cut the only other kicker that was here, so I'm assuming he's going to make the team, right? But again, he could go out and absolutely vomit all over himself in the final preseason game, and that could force them to hit the streets again, looking for a kicker. So we'll see what happens. David Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, David. Right. What up, Lou? What's up, Dave? He says the third round pick in the trade is for whichever one is better, Miami or Philadelphia. Do you think AP is done making moves at wide receiver? First of all, that's that's why I love my GM because he's gonna make sure that we win when it's all said and done. So whoever has the better of the two, Miami, both these teams are supposed to be good this year between Miami and Philadelphia. And so he essentially says, whomever has the higher pick, that's the one we need to be getting. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's my GM now. As far as do I think he's done making moves? Um, do you see any other tradable assets on our team? Ones that you're actually willing to part ways with? I don't. I mean, maybe Jamin Davis, but I don't think they're trading Jamin Davis. I think they see value in Jamin Davis. They want to see this defensive end thing through, and he has value as an off-the-ball linebacker as well. Like he'd be the only other guy. Now, if you're thinking about other teams, sure, there could be a move or two out there. Absolutely, a team's going to cut a guy. Washington gets wind of it. Hey, instead of you cutting him, trade him to me, right? But my whole thing is we don't have to do that. When you're sitting there second on the waiver wire claims list, you don't have to trade for guys unless you want to get them into your program as soon as possible. If you get wind of a team shopping a player that they're going to cut and you know they're going to cut him, why give them anything for a guy when all you got to do is hope that Carolina doesn't want him? Maybe Carolina might want him, but that's the risk I'm willing to take. I'm not giving you a damn thing when I know you're going to cut him and I got second dibs. So, yeah, I think we're done at receiver. Um, if you ask me, I think it's part of the reason why they brought in Byron Pringle, why they brought in Martavis Bryant, because they knew at some point they were going to try to shuffle the deck. And I think they like Martavis Bryant a lot. DQ saw him last year, and I think he believes he can add value now. They got to get him up to speed, obviously. Um, will he make the roster? He probably won't. But will he be ready to contribute? Maybe say by week 6, maybe, maybe. I'm looking at the roster right now, and I'm saying that Jamison Crowder can give you everything that Jahan gave you at the receiver position. So I just say Crowder steps into his spot, and he gives you an added punt returner in the event that you need it. And I still think it's Pringle now and Crowder, and I think that's it. That's the cutoff for me. But we'll see. Um, Drinkable Measy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Drinkable Measy, right? If this season is a flop, you have to make a gotcha bitch part 2. I'm not doing that because because I believe in Dan Quinn. I believe in Adam Peters. I believe in them. I believe in what they're building. I believe in the messaging. I believe in the foundation that they're currently setting. Look, Jahan Dotson wasn't a guy that they felt like fit their program. He didn't fit what they term to be a commander. He wasn't physical enough. Like, if you're not going to be physical, then you better damn well be explosive and dynamic. And he hasn't been that either. So we'll see what happens. Barrett Downing, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Barrett Downing, double up, thank you for doubling up. My guy, BD writes, did Ron actually leave us in better shape? Hell nah. That might have been like Ron made some of the worst statements known to mankind from a departing head coach. he said that he was gonna leave us in better shape, and I truly believe that initially because I thought Sam was gonna work, Brian Robinson was gonna work, Jahan was gonna work, Quan was gonna work, and so I didn't know about Forbes, but I was like, he probably ultimately work out. And I just felt like if the biggest thing was if he left us a quarterback, which I thought Sam would be, then we'd be in a better shape. Clearly, that man spun us around the block, brought us back, and dropped us off in the same. He did what the record label did to New Edition, right? New Edition went out there, got all these hits, made all this money for the record label, did all this touring, and then when they were done, the tour bus dropped their ass back off in the hood in Massachusetts and said, "Hey, y'all figure that shit out." That's what Ron did to us. Took us around for 40 years, took us to the playoffs, right? We went on tour with him, and we had some big wins here and there. Undefeated Pittsburgh team, undefeated Eagles team. Had all this fun here and there. 4-game win streak here, 4-game win streak there. Still missed the playoffs, right? Win 6 out of 7. You're feeling good, all that stuff. And then when he was done, he dropped our dumbasses back off in the damn NFL basement. So this leave him in a better position than when I found him. And hey, when you win a Super Bowl, give me my ring, kiss ass. All right, kick rock. Oh man. Ken from DC. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ken from DC. Right. Is it too early to have the who will take the number one jersey conversation? I say Mikey takes the number. That's a good no, it's not too early to have that conversation. That's a great question. Somebody's got I mean, him and Diami can't both wear 2, right? And Diami's currently the number 2 on this team, unless Diami wants 1. But Diami's always been 2. He was 2 in college. So Diami's not coming them off of 2. Somebody's gotta take the 1, right? My candidate would probably be Mikey Sanders still too. I mean, 20s will pop up. Does he want a double digit number though? Or does he want a single digit number? Great, great conversation to have. I'm putting in my vote for Mike Sainristil as well. I think we're on the same wavelength there. I think Mike is the first one in line for that number one jersey. Kevin the PRF. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Kevin the PRF writes, I feel some sort of way about trading him to Philly. But Chef P is feeding into my narrative that the wide receiver is the most overrated position in sports. I won't go as far as to say it's the most overrated position in you said sports, which is insane. But in the sport, um, I don't even think it's the most overrated position. Just because it's hard to win in this league without good receivers. You don't have to have an elite receiver. I think that was a narrative that was debunked a while ago, especially looking at how the Patriots did things with Tom Brady. But it's not like he didn't have anybody else. You can't win without at least one guy having, 1,000 yards. You can maybe if you got a bunch of 800-yard receivers and another dude in there like 2 800-yarders and then a guy with like 500, maybe you can get by, right? But then you're gonna have some tight ends and some running back contributing as well. There's probably gonna be 1,000-yard receiver somewhere, right? Like the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl last year. Brandon Ayuk was over 1,000 yards, over 1,300 yards last year. And they still had Devo Samuel too, right? And they still had George Kittle too. Um, The Chiefs, yeah, they had a down year last year from a receiving standpoint. I don't think they had a receiver crack 1,000 yards last year. They had Travis Kelce. Yeah, you still gotta have somebody to throw the football to. So it's hard to make it in this league without a really good receiver. You don't have to have an elite receiver, but you have to have a really good receiver. It's good if you have more than one, like more than one option. We'll see. Blue Magic 73. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Blue Magic writes, trading him to Philly tells you we are confident in our guys covering him. us trading him to Philly makes me feel like they know something that we don't. I think them trading him to Philly, they're gonna spin it as, hey, we wanted to do right by Jahan. That's the way they should spin it. That is the way you should spin the block with this one. Is, oh no, we wanted, he's from Philly, right? He needs a fresh start. We felt good about the compensation. Like, that's the way they should approach it. But I'm not trading a guy that I think is capable of kicking my ass to a team in my division. That's not smart business. It's one thing to make a trade with a guy for the draft where they're getting an unknown commodity, right? Even if that guy's high on your board, like we traded and allowed them to get Cooper DeJean. We don't know how good or bad Cooper DeJean's going to be. Knock yourself out. We know the commodity that we're trading them in Jahan Dotson. If you think he's really good, you're not trading him to a team in your division. So they're telling me that we're not afraid of Jahan Dotson. We don't give a shit what team he's on. He doesn't scare us. And we know his strengths and weaknesses. So if we see his ass, we know how to cover him. That's what they're saying to us. They'll tell us something different, but their actions have spoken louder than anything they can say. And I'm fine with that. Yo, Rio, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Yo, Rio writes, Cowboys players wondering how it's like. All I know is the Eagles got better today. How much better? I don't know how much this moves the needle. I would love to see what the Vegas odds say. Does this move the needle on their odds for winning the Super Bowl, their odds for winning the NFC East? Does this change anything? I don't know if this move is that much of a needle mover, but they got better. They went from not having a reliable third option to having a guy who, at a bare minimum, even if he's not worthy of a first-round pick that we used on him, he's going to get you 500 yards receiving. He's done that in his first 2 years in the NFL. And that was done with 7 touchdowns, having missed 4 games in his rookie season. We know the dude's talented. Miss P, thank you for being a member for 35 months. Greatly appreciate you. So I'm getting a lot of check your audio. Got it from Joe Rockhead. Got it from Miss P. I appreciate y'all trying to let me know. Yeah, I saw the message on my screen. I was hoping that it didn't lead to any technical difficulties, but of course it did. Aubrey 44, the happiest man on planet Earth. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Aubrey 44 writes, Crowder in the slot. I can't think of a person that is happier today than Aubrey 44. Maybe Jamison Crowder himself. I don't know if Aubrey is Jamison Crowder's cousin or the president of his fan club, but this man has been putting in all caps in any conversation. Jamison Crowder is not going anywhere. I'm watching Dan Quinn's press conference and I'm looking at the live chat in the corner. And guess who's in there? Aubrey 44 talking about Jamison Crowder is not going anywhere. I look in my chat and he's saying the same thing. I post a video, he's saying the same thing. Well, I think you got your wish. Jamison Crowder isn't going anywhere after all. You were right all along. Blue Magic 73. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Jahan doesn't have no dog in him. I can't say that he doesn't. I can just tell you that he is a receiver with a specific set of skills. And if you don't use him according to his skill set, he's not a guy that you can put anywhere and he'll thrive. Generally, when we describe a dog, that's what a dog is. Doesn't matter where you put him, who you put him with. Like Terry's a dog. Why? Because we can make Taylor Heineke his quarterback. We could make Carson Wentz his quarterback. We could make Sam Howell his quarterback. We could make Dwayne Haskins his quarterback, and he's still gonna eat. Kyle Allen is quarterback. Alex Smith is quarterback. I could keep going because he's played with over 10 quarterbacks in his career, right? Ryan Fitzpatrick could be his. It doesn't matter. He's still gonna eat because he's a dog. The same thing can't be said for Jahan Dotson, right? But that doesn't mean there's not dog in him. We just didn't get it out of him. We just didn't get it out of him. Jeremiah, thank you for being a member for 25 months. Hit that 2-year threshold. All right, fix the audio, and I don't hate the move, but why Philly? Audio is fixed. Okay, so the audio might be doing it again because I'm seeing the message on my screen again. So let me see what it's saying. All right. All right. I think we should be straight. We should be straight. 28, the great, no debate. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. 28, the great, no debate writes. Ron passed on solid and high potential players, wide receiver Olave, cornerback Gonzalez, not training up for Parsons, for guys like his coaching questionable and underperforming. Just imagine now. He says, just imagine. Now, snap out of it. JC Ice. Yeah. You could have had Chris Olave. I would have preferred that we taken Chris Olave. Again, hindsight is 2020. I thought we would trade at some point. I didn't know it would be the first round pick because you didn't have to trade back in the first round to pick up the third rounder that they were after, right? You didn't have to do that. You could have traded back in the second round and still achieved something similar. But they decided to trade back in the first round, right? And yeah, we thought that was going to be the foundation trade, right? Building block trade. Cole Turner and Brian Robinson Jr. and Sam Howell and Jahan Dotson. That was supposed to be the trade, right? That was the one. Cole Turner, I think he's going to make this roster. Feels like he's going to make the roster, but he could not make this roster, right? Jahan's no longer here. Sam's no longer here. This is 2022 we're talking about. Like, we're just talking about 3 drafts ago. We're not talking about 5 years or 6 years ago. We're talking about 3 years ago, 3 drafts ago. Guys that have only played 2 years in the NFL. The vast majority of that 2022 draft class is no longer here. The 2023 draft class is being decimated and picked apart piece by piece as we speak. Braden Daniels is going to be cut. Ricky Stromberg, he couldn't make this roster. He made the cut. Chris Rodriguez is as good as gone. Andre Jones Jr. will be cut. KJ Henry is not safe. Although I think he's going to make this roster. Emmanuel Forbes is on shaky ground, right? Quan Martin looks like the only guy that is going to stand the test of time from the 2023 draft. This is why we stuck in mediocrity. When you don't draft well, it's hard for you to improve overall because the draft is the lifeline of any NFL organization. If you do not draft well, you cannot consistently field a quality NFL football team. You can't. And we didn't draft well at all. For decades, we haven't drafted well, by the way. This doesn't start with Ron. Jay Gruden wasn't drafting well back in those days with Bruce Allen, right? Well, and I don't want to put that on Jay. That was on Bruce, right? We've been drafting poorly for decades, going all the way back to '08 with Vinny Serrato, right? Bloodshot Sports, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Bloodshot Sports, right? Maybe Brown has a breakout season. Maybe he does. Look, I don't know what De'Ami Brown's highest yards count was for a single season in his career. My guess is it can't be any more than 200 and something yards. I don't think this man has ever seen 3 as the first number of his season total for receiving yards in his career to this point. And we're going into year 4, right? Final year of his rookie contract. I don't think this man has seen a year where he's had 300 and something yards. I think 200. And this is with a game against the Titans. We had 3 catches for 105 yards or 2 catches for 105 yards or whatever it was. If that is the case, he has no choice but to break out this year. He has no choice. If he has a 592-yard receiving, that's a breakout season when your highest total prior to this year was 200 and something. The way De'Ami's playing right now, if he's healthy, he's gonna blow that out of the water. He's gonna blow that out of the water. So. Grande Groove, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Grande Groove, right? They dropped a mic'd up Jahan video on YouTube last night. Oh, the irony. Poor Commander's social media team. They didn't know, right? Even they got blindsided by this deal. They had no idea that this shit was coming. Good to know that we're not the only ones that don't know what the hell's going on inside the building. And again, it shows that this group has their shit tied tight, right? It's sealed airtight in there. Ain't shit getting out, ain't shit getting in that they don't want. Jay Coleman, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Shout out to Jay Coleman. Kevin the PRF, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Kevin the PRF writes, make sure a few years from now we give Rivera his ring for meriting us all this draft capital. Hey, um, I just get a kick out of every time I think about this man literally said, hey, if y'all win a Super Bowl next year, make sure I get my ring. When they win a Super Bowl, I want my ring. The audacity of this man. Oh, Ronald. Oh, Ronald. Oh, Ronald, you're such a hoot. Swaggy P. Been a member for 22 months. Almost at that 2-year anniversary. Who writes, why did Jahan have to go to the Eagles, though? That's the $1,000,000 question. But again, I'm drawing an inference. That's their way of telling us we don't fear Jahan. We think he's basic. If you felt like this man had the ability to tear you to shreds, you're not giving him to a team that you got to play twice a year. I just believe in that. You would have taken less to trade him somewhere else. Unless you say, no, we want the most compensation we can get for him. Nobody else was offering us a third. And we'll deal with, the consequences of this. We'll deal with the aftermath. If he kicks our ass, so be it. We feel good about the guy we're going to draft in the 3rd round based off of this trade next year. Jay Coleman, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Dotson is just not a good fit for Cliff's system. I thought he would be. That's the crazy part, is with a lot of these quick passes and the ability of the receivers to be put in positions to succeed by getting them in space. Cliff runs a spacing concept system where you spread the guys out and you find the best matchup, the guy that can create the most separation or create the most space, or if they're playing zone, the guy, you space them out and you find a hole in the zone and you get it to a guy. And Jahan operates best in space. So I just figured he'd thrive in this system, but apparently not. Apparently not. So, um, we'll see. Waldo Vision, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Waldo Vision writes, it's a stick up. Ski Mask Howie does it again. Nah, that ain't what's going on right now. We unmasked Howie at the draft. We pulled that damn mask off a long time ago. Mask off, mask off, mask off. We pulled that mask off in April, right? Ain't no mask, ski mask going on around here. Frankie, yo, thank you for being a member for 28 months. Frankie, yo, right. Claypool got a top 40 pick. Ugly work, in my opinion. Claypool got a second round pick. They fetched the second rounder for him. But keep in mind, when that happened, it was in season. When you trade someone in season, you're more likely to get more for a player, right? There's a level of desperation that takes place at the trade deadline that's different from the NFL offseason. The season hasn't started yet. So there's not a level of desperation necessarily here. You know, the Eagles won a third receiver, but they didn't have to make this trade. If you're making a trade in season, it's for one of two reasons. One, you think you got a chance to do something big, so you're going to give up whatever it costs to get it done, like the Rams did that year when they traded for Von Miller and um and signed Odell Beckham Jr. Right? Like they went all in and they won a Super Bowl because of it. Um, or you're trading for a guy that you think can help you long term, and you don't want to wait until the offseason when he becomes a free agent. You want to get him now, get him signed up to a long term deal so you don't have to worry about fighting for him in the offseason, which is what the Rams did again with Jalen Ramsey when they traded for him. And obviously, the Bears just did it with Montez Sweat. And that's what the Bears tried to do with Chase Claypool, right? They knew, and this is the thing that pushed up Chase Claypool's value, if you don't recall. There was no wide receivers in free agency that were worth a damn that offseason coming up. And Chase Claypool would be one of the better names floating around. And instead of having to fight with other teams for Chase Claypool, they traded a second round pick for him. Obviously, it didn't work out. But remember, at that time when the Steelers traded him, he was a gadget guy that was scoring a bunch of touchdowns in the red zone. He was a deep threat. There was value in Chase Claypool. I mean, I get where you're coming from. He fetched a second rounder, but the level of desperation just wasn't there, right? Just wasn't there. I feel you though. Dre Hill, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dre writes, Lou, stop saying you could KD have traded him anywhere. No, we couldn't. It wouldn't have happened. We LOL'd his value round. What are you talking about, Dre? What are you talking about? What this whole comment doesn't even make sense. What are you talking about? Let me stop and read it again. Maybe I'm tripping. Stop saying you could KD have traded him anywhere. So could. I'm assuming that's could. All right. So stop saying you could have traded him anywhere. No, we couldn't. It wouldn't have happened. We'd LOL his value. Round the LG is clearly not high. Yeah. I don't know what the hell this shit is talking about. Sorry. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Hunter Hodovic, my guy. Double H. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB Rights. What's up, T? What's up, Hunter? Hope you and yours are thriving. Likewise. Likewise. So, are we comfortable with what we got, or are we testing free agency, or dare I say another trade? Thanks for streaming. I think they're good with what they got. Again, this season was never meant to be. I mean, if it happened, great. The Houston Texans didn't expect a 10-win season last year. It just happened. That's not what they were anticipating, though, with the rookie quarterback, the first-year head coach, and all the moving parts that they weren't expecting that, but it happened, right? We don't play in the AFC South. So a 10-win season isn't likely to just happen to us. We have Dallas and we have Philadelphia in this division, and we don't know how to beat the Giants for some strange, odd reason. So 10 wins, more likely than not, isn't going to just happen to us. It's not going to just fall into our lap. But what they are preparing themselves for is to find out who wants to be here, who's a part of the solution, who are guys who are going to be riding with us moving. We're going to continue to put ourselves in an advantageous position moving forward in the draft to help, fast track this process. The more picks you have in the first 2 days of the draft, the faster you can improve your roster as an organization. You can't tell me they don't feel good about Brandon Coleman, Luke McCaffrey, um, Johnny Newton, Ben Sinnott, Mike Sainristil, and Jaden Daniels. 6 players that they got in the first 2 days of the draft last year, or this past draft, excuse me. You can't tell me that they're not already loving Jaden Daniels, that they don't think very highly of Brandon Coleman. This man may not play in a single preseason game, and they still might start him at left tackle. You know how they feel about Mike Sainristil. They're putting Mike Sainristil in the same breath as Jaden Daniels in terms of what kind of impact they think he can have in his rookie season. I already told you he might be the most indispensable player on this team right now from a defensive standpoint. Right? He might be the most irreplaceable guy defensively. And he's a rookie. We see what Ben Simmons has and what he can potentially be. Still haven't really seen what Johnny Newton can be, but I know he's super talented. That's how you get better faster. First and second day picks are how you get better faster. The more of those you have, the faster you're going to be a competitive and damn right good football team. I think they're comfortable with where they are right now, right? I'm not telling you that they're done making moves, that when these, final 53-man roster cuts happen around the league, that they won't go scouring, some of the debris that was left for a guy or two. I'm not telling you that. But to think that they're going to find some magical replacement, I doubt that seriously. At the end of the day, I think they're comfortable with the 5 guys that we talked about, you know. Um, Luke's gonna have to come of age a little bit, maybe. But even still, Terry, Diami, OZ, I mean, they feel good about those 3 right there. Then they hope Luke can give them something. And then, Crowder if need be, Pringle, again, Martavis Bryant. We'll see what they decide to do. But keep in mind, you're not gonna have more than 3 receivers on the field at any time for the most part. Because there's always going to be a running back on the field, and more likely than not, there's always going to be a tight end on the field. So you're probably never going to have anything more than less than 11 personnel on the field. You might have 2 running backs on the field at the same time, but you're never going to have more than 3 receivers. I don't see many sets where they take the tight end completely off the field and have 4 receivers and 1 back, or no back and 4 receivers and 1 tight end. I don't see that happening. There's always going to be a running back on the field. There's always going to be a tight end on the field. So you're only going 3 deep receivers most of the time. Well, they got 3 guys that they like. So you may not love them, but they like. Um, anyway, I digress. Drinkable Measy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Right. Just feeling salty we traded him. I'm just going to miss his spin move against New York. LOL. Yeah, that was a dope spin move. Um, what could have been, right? What could have been? Uh, I think the dude's talented, and I wish things could have been different here, right? I wish things could have been different here, but they weren't. And again, when the new regime comes, the same thing I said about Sam Howell. I think the dude's super talented, and I wish things could have been different here. But you can't help, just like you can't help who your parents are. You can't help what team drafts you and the dysfunction that they have going on and how that's going to impact your career. You can't help. You just gotta hope that you come up and you have really good parents, right? You just gotta hope that when you pop out of your mom's cooch, you got 2 really badass parents, man. That's not always the case, right? You gotta hope that when they turn that card in with your name on it, that you are going to a healthy organization.
and that's not always the case. So, um, so y'all saying the audio is acting up again? Um, I'm not seeing the sign. I'm not seeing the sign. You know what I also probably need to do as well is I probably need to update. Anytime I get an update for OBS and I don't make that update, these are the types of things that happen. That's probably why they sent the update. So um, I probably need to do the update. I'll do it after this stream, and maybe that'll fix it. 'Cause I haven't had audio issues in a very long time. Very, very long. Anyway, I digress. Mike Jake, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. See, now I got the sign that the audio, the bit rate is a little bit off. Let me see if I can change the settings and maybe that'll help. I don't like touching a lot of this stuff, but I may have to. Um, all right. How's the audio? Is it still a little crazy? Just give me a thumbs up or something. Check, 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 check. 1 2 1 2. Guess who? Muhammad Sanu. The levels is good. Levels is good. Levels is good. All right. Still jacking up. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. All right, I guess I'll just plug it out again and plug it back in. Hold on. Let me check. I might be able to fix it here. The audio. Um, yeah, I probably just need to restart the I probably need to just restart the app. But I'm gonna just plug it out and plug it back in. Give me a second. All right. How does that sound? How does that sound? I gotta reboot my OBS. That's probably what I need to do. It says worse? Is it really worse? All right. Um Mike Jink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Louie Lou, thanks again. Can always depend on you. Yeah, I don't like helping out the I don't like helping out the fam. Right. I don't like helping out family members. I think we have helped the Eagles roster get better.
That's my opinion. I don't like the fact that he got traded to that's the only part of this trade that I don't love. Like, um, everything else I can rationalize in my brain, and I can make it make sense, and I'm okay with it. Trading him to Philadelphia is the one thing that I'm like, "Nah, I'm not really feeling that," right? If you're an Eagles fan, you should feel really good. Dre Hill, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? We could have traded him. Sorry about the typos. His value around the LG is not what people think it was. The league, okay, is not what people think it was. If we had a trade partner outside the division, it would have happened. We can't say what his value is or isn't around the league. You might be right. It might not be. Again, Jahan hasn't done anything to warrant a third round pick. But we didn't just get a third round pick. We had to also give up a fifth with Jahan to get the third. I find it hard to believe that somebody else around the league doesn't value Jahan Dotson at a third round level if we're attaching a fifth round pick to him. I just find it hard to believe that the Carolina Panthers can't use a Jahan Dotson. And again, I don't know if Carolina has a third round pick to surrender. They've been trading away picks like hotcakes here recently. You can't tell me a team like Jacksonville couldn't use a Jahan Dotson after losing, Calvin Ridley in free agency. Like you're telling me they can't use a Jahan Dotson in Jacksonville and a third round pick wouldn't help? Like I just find that hard to believe that there aren't teams around the league who don't have a great receiving situation couldn't have used the Jahan Dotson and been willing to take a third round flyer on a guy that was a former first round pick. I struggle with that concept. And you're telling me the Eagles were the only team willing to give us a three. I highly doubt that. Highly doubt that. Now, if they come back and they tell me that was the only team offering up a third round pick, then you understand why they did business with the Eagles. They wanted to maximize his value, get the most that they could for him, and the Eagles were the only team willing to give us what we sought after. But I just, in my mind, I'm like, there's no way you couldn't have picked up the phone and other teams weren't interested in Jahan Dotson, third round pick again, with us throwing in the fifth as well. But on a rookie deal for 3 more years, if you pick up his fifth year option, I don't know, man. I find that hard to believe that there wasn't somebody out there that said, "Hey, I'll give you a third one." That's hard to believe. Raw Rebel. But you might be right. I can't tell you you're wrong. Right? I can't tell you you're wrong, Dre. I can't tell you you're wrong, but I don't buy that one. Raw Rebel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Raw Rebel, right? This move makes the Eagles better only in Madden. I think it makes them better in real life, but um, I understand where you're coming from. He hasn't done it at a high level. I can tell you this much: as Eagles fans have seen him up close and personal, and every time we play the Eagles, Jahan Dotson usually catches a touchdown. He usually does something of note against them. Usually, um, so they probably feel really good, and they should. As a third option, he's going to be really dynamic, I believe. But we'll see. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ethan Dykes, right? Lou, those damn dirty birds. Adam is too comfortable with Howie for my liking. Got me feeling like I need a shower. Looking at Luke to step up now. So in this league, it's all about relationships. That's how deals get done. Do I trust the guy that I'm negotiating with? Do I think he's gonna try to get over on me? Do we have a good working relationship? Clearly, he and Howie have a good working relationship. So this may not be the last time that we have dealings with the Eagles, right? But what I'm comfortable with, I would not have been comfortable with this setup if we had the guys that were in control before pulling the string. If this was Martin Mayhew or Bruce Allen or Vinny Serrato, I would not have been comfortable with dealing with the Eagles. because I know they would have gotten their lunch taken. No, I don't want to give you my lunch money. They would have definitely took our damn lunch money. But with AP, I'm not worried. Chef P is not going to allow us to get sleep. So if he feels like it's of value to do business with the Eagles, I'm with it. I'm with it. Lorenzo Simpson, my guy Zoe, been a member for 35 months. Almost at that 3-year anniversary. Right. Play 49ers GM for a minute. IU for a second and a third. I think if you're the commander, there's too much draft capital you're giving up for Brandon IU. Because keep in mind, not only do you have to trade for Brandon IU, you also have to pay Brandon IU, which is why the additional pick doesn't make sense. You know, now if you want an additional pick, the first pick is a third, and then the next pick is a fifth or something like that. Sure, but I can't give you a third, a second, and a third, and I still got to turn around and give you man $33 million per year for the next 3 or 4 years. I can't do that, right? So that's a bit tough to stomach. But two threes, I still don't love it because I still got to pay him. But you entertain that more so than two and a three. That's for sure. But I'm not giving up two picks if I got to pay a guy $100 million. Sorry, not sorry. We'll figure it out. Um, Jay Willard, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thanks for being a member of the MOBB. Jay Willard writes, I think Chef P might be cooking to go after a DN. Again, I don't really see that happening, right? Like we're lacking at defensive end. I told you that already. But we knew that going into this isn't a surprise. Like we didn't wake up today and realize that man, we don't have a ton of depth and we don't have high quality players in defensive. We knew that when we signed Lawrence Armstrong Jr. and Cleveland Farrell. We already knew that our defensive end position was scarce. We already knew that. So it's not like they had this epiphany today. Um, we are what we are, roster wise. There's maybe a tweak here, a tweak there. But there's not these big changes that you guys are looking for. Like those aren't coming. Um, again, he didn't make this trade to then flip these picks to go and get another player. He's trying to amass draft capital because that's how you're going to build this roster into a bully through the draft. We're trying to build a sustainable winner. You do that by getting cheap labor through the draft, finding good quality players through the draft, having them under contract for 4 to 5 years, and then recycling that process, keeping the ones that you can't live without, and then moving on from the ones that you can and recycling that process. Rinse and repeat. Find more talented players to fill in those gaps and continue on that process. Abel Ambrosio, been a member for 21 months. Right? We made 2 trades so far. Maybe a third trade is coming. That's what we've been told, right? Somebody said B-Mint said another trade is coming. I don't know. I don't know if another trade is coming or not. Um, I can tell you this much. Didn't see this one coming, so shit. Didn't see the first one coming, damn it. Didn't see us trading for a kicker. Didn't see us trading Jahan Dotson. So, hell, who knows at this point? Everybody's looking for something. I don't think it's coming, but I didn't think this one was coming. So what the hell do I know, right? Spence Khalif, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Spence writes, Ring of honor for Ron if we win a Super Bowl. Ha ha. That's the only damn ring he gets. Uh, what a disaster that whole 4-year period was. Again, I still commend Ron for being here and getting us through what was a really trying time. We lost our identity, right? We were no longer the Redskins. We went through 2 years of in limbo with the football team essentially, and then all of the allegations and the lawsuits and sexual assault and all of us and the name being drugged through the mud. Ron was able to get us through all of that. If nothing else, I do have a level of respect for him for that. But as far as him putting this organization in a better place from a roster standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, the coaching staff was asked. Of all of the coaches that he assembled, only two of them, I believe, remain here. That's Bobby Ingram and Tavita Pritchard, and both of those guys came on last year. So it's not like he found those guys and brought them over from Carolina, or brought those guys in when he first got here. He made changes last year because it was so bad the year before, and he knew things had to be shaken up, and so that's what he decided to do. And those two guys happen to be the only holdovers, I believe, on the staff, and there are not many holdovers in the front office, just Martin Mayhew, right? And that's only because he's Adam, Peter's boy, or else he'd be gone too. And they wiped out every single front office spot and put them over to something else. They moved out almost every coach, and they damn near turned over the entire roster. We're approaching 70% of this roster being gone from the season ago. And we still got cuts to be made. Wait till Ricky Stromberg's no longer here. Wait till Brandon Brandon Daniels is no longer here, potentially, right? Or potentially would be Ricky Stromberg. Brandon is definitely gone. Wait till Andre Jones Jr. isn't here. Hell, KJ Henry isn't a guarantee, but it feels like he's going to be here, right? Wait till we're done cleaning out some more of the wreckage that Ronald left. Louie, hey, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Lowell, right? Ayuk or T. Higgins? Week 1 and week 2. Hashtag HTTC. We get to see T. Higgins up close and personal. We get both these receivers. If Ayuk stays in San Francisco, I believe we play the 49ers this year too. Again, I think. Um, no. That was last year. We played them late in the season. I remember saying, damn, we played the 49ers late in the season again. That was last year. We played them 2 years in a row late in the season. We don't play them this year, I don't think. But we do play T. Higgins and the Cincinnati Bengals in week number 3. So we'll get to see T. Higgins up close and personal. And if he kicks our ass, that's even more incentive for them to go get him next off season. JD, J the GOAT, 252. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. J the GOAT, 252 writes, Lou, hope all is well with you and the fam. But do you think Forbes is on the hot seat in your opinion? Yeah, I do. Because they didn't draft him. This is the same thing we see right here in this trade with Jahan. They didn't draft Jahan, so there's no loyalty here. There's no reason for them to feel the need to hold on to him and try to make it work. They didn't draft Emmanuel Forbes. So if he can't play in their scheme this year, they feel like he's a liability. What's stopping them from getting rid of him or trading him to somewhere else? And normally you don't cut a first round pick. You trade him to somebody else, their failed first round pick. That's normally what two teams do. I remember when the Bills acquired Jerry Hughes from the Colts. The Bills had a former first round pick that they didn't love. The Colts had Jerry Hughes, who was a former first round pick that they didn't love. They swapped the two players, and Jerry Hughes went on to have an excellent career with the Buffalo Bills. You just never know how it's going to work out. But generally, you don't cut former first round picks before you get to that last year of their rookie contract. Normally, you let it play out, and you just don't pick up the fifth-year option, and you just let him go, at the end of that contract. So, I don't know if they'll cut Forbes. They'll probably look for a partner if it doesn't work this year and just get what they can get for him, right? And it won't be anything super high if he doesn't play well, but they'll get something for him. Blue Magic 73. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Blue Magic, right? Same stature. OZ plays with more aggression than JD. It's more of a mindset that you have to play with, like Smith Jr. Stephen Smith Jr. at their size. Um, it's always a mentality. I've said this a million times. Steve Smith Sr. with the Panthers, dog, right? Steve Smith, what, 5'8", 5'9"? Played like he was 6'3". It's a mentality. But, you know, everybody's not wired like that. Steve Smith is probably gonna end up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Probably gonna end up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Everybody's not wired with that mentality. Like, Jahan is talented for sure, but his game doesn't come equipped with physicality. Never has, and I don't think it ever will. That's not going to change. I think they want a little bit more from Jahan than he is capable of giving them. Hence, they got rid of him. Nothing wrong with that, right? We trying to figure out who's a part of the solution. If you're not a part of the solution, then it means you're a part of the problem, and you got to go. Jahan ultimately may be a part of the solution. That third round pick may be a big part of what ultimately helps us win in the future. He provided us with his contribution by helping us get the third round pick that may ultimately lead to a really good player becoming a commander in the near future. Who's to say? Raw Rebel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Raw Rebel, right? Was Dotson the receiver crying about ED? We'll never know. I always said that it wasn't a receiver. I thought it was a offensive lineman. I thought it was Charles Leno Jr. who was upset about. But we'll never know. We'll never know who that guy. I won't say we'll never know, but it's highly unlikely that we ever find out who went to Ron Rivera and said something. I always thought it was Charles Leno Jr. The Great Watubi, been a member for 35 months, almost at their 3-year anniversary. Who writes, what odds you give on Brandon Ayuk to us? Oh, it's I'm gonna put it at plus 1,300 right now. Like, he ain't coming here, bro. He ain't coming here. As a matter of fact, I'm I feel pretty confident that he's gonna sign a long-term deal with the 49ers. That's what I think ultimately happens. And I showed you the tweet from the 49ers beat writer who said, and he gave us all the dates of notable, extensions that the 49ers have been a part of each of the last, like, 3 off seasons. With Debo, with Boza, with, McCaffrey, I believe. Might not have been McCaffrey. It was Debo, Bosa, and Fred Warner. Those were the 3, I believe. And all of them came either into August, or in the case of Boza, I think his was even in September. So this falls right in line. And Kittle was also in that mix, and his was in like late August too. So this is how they operate. This is standard operating procedure for the 49ers. I think a long-term deal gets done with value. That's what it feels like right now. So anyway, I digress. There you have it. Jahan Dotson is now a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. What in the hell is going on? Let me check my phone before I leave, before I go, and then it's some more news. Um, this is crazy. I can't wait till the press conference for 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 the DQ today, because he's gonna get peppered with. At first, we thought he was just gonna get peppered with questions about the kicking situation. Now, the first 5 questions may be Jahan Dotson and the receiver room related, and we'll see how he handles that. And I kind of think I know how he's gonna handle that and what he's gonna say, because 'cause they're gonna take the high road, right? But, I wanna see how they spin it, and then I wanna see what he says about the room, and, he's probably gonna say it's an opportunity for the rest of the guys in the room, right? It's a great opportunity for, guys to step up and show what they're worth and what they can do. Like, DQ's gonna put a positive spin on it. It's really interesting to see this thing play out, right? Frankie, yo, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Frankie, yo, writes, if we are looking at real possibilities, I doubt Russell Gage makes the cut for the Ravens, and we might look there, reunion with Dan Quinn. Um, if you're looking to add Russell Gage to your roster, what does that say about the state of your receiver position, Frankie, yo? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. What is Russell Gage actually going to do for this roster that Olamide Zaccheaus can't do? I'd even say that Byron Pringle can't do, right? Like, it's Russell Gage. It's not Odell Beckham Jr. we're talking about here. So, again, this is why when people say, "Do you think another move is coming?" No, I don't. I don't. I think they're comfortable with what they have. Are you comfortable with it? Probably not. Are they comfortable? And that's all that matters. They're comfortable with it. We've seen 3 years of De'Ami Brown be underwhelming. You're not comfortable with him being the number 2 receiver. But they haven't seen 3 years of underwhelming De'Ami Brown. They just got here 5 months ago, and they're like, "Hey, this guy's pretty goddamn good." What round you say he went in? 3rd? Oh, shit. We like this dude. That's all that matters. Olamide Zaccheaus can play football. I've seen OZ play. I know he's capable. He's the 3rd option. I thought he was gonna do well for the Eagles last year. For whatever reason, it didn't work out in Philadelphia, but I thought OZ was gonna be a great fit last season when he went to Philadelphia. So I feel good about OZ. We'll see what Luke McCaffrey brings. Let's not act like the only people you can throw the football to are the tight end are the receivers. We have tight ends that we can throw the football to. We have running backs we can throw the football to. It's not the end of the world. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Um, anyway, that's gonna do it for me. Your man Louie T here on this wild command post live stream talking about the crazy bombshell of a trade as the Commanders trade away wide receiver, former first round pick wide receiver Jahan Dotson, and a fifth round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a third round pick, the higher of their 2 third-round picks, whether that's the Miami pick or the Philadelphia Eagles pick itself, and 2 seventh-round picks. Commanders gave up a 7th round pick potentially in a trade earlier in the day when they traded for place kicker Cade York from the Cleveland Browns. They then replace and replenish that pick and add yet another 7th round pick to the ledger in addition to a 3rd round pick. So essentially, they flipped Jahan in the 5th for a 3rd. Um, they took that 5th round pick and made it into a 3rd. Same thing. It kind of feels like what they did with Sam Howell last year, right? They attached I think, a 5th round pick to Sam, or 6th round pick or something like that, and ended up getting that extra 3rd round pick that they had. So, I'm not mad at it. I'm not glad at it. We'll see how it goes. I hate that it's Philadelphia, but ultimately, Adam Peters did what he felt like he needed to do. And to that, I say, job well done. Get what you can get. A lot of y'all didn't love when they traded Montez Sweat last year. I had no issues with it. Get that second round pick, man. If you're not trying to pay him the $24 million that he ended up getting per year on that deal he signed with the Bears in the offseason, if you're not willing to give him that second round pick while it's there to be got. Got a third round pick for Jahan. I ain't mad at it. I'm just mad about where he ended up. Guy's talented. He's a Philadelphia Eagle now. Anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. We got shit to talk about. I think what I'm gonna ultimately have to do is push the podcast off to tomorrow, right? Because theoretically speaking, I could do the podcast later on this afternoon, um, but I may ultimately just jump into the Commanders video later on this afternoon, and then jump into some post game stuff later on tonight with one of these preseason games. So we'll figure it out. I think that's ultimately what I'll decide to do is push the podcast off till tomorrow. So anyway, I digress. You guys get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Wow, what a bombshell. 2 trades in less than an hour by Adam Peters. Jeff P. Cooking them up. It's about to change. I keep telling y'all, it feels different because it is different. And if you don't know, now you know.